Hello, my name is Michele, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. On the podcast today, we're going to tackle a question I get often and sometimes can look like a bit of pushback or even an excuse. And it is this: I cannot do profit first because I don't have enough profit. I'll get to it later when I'm profitable. And what if I told you that not doing profit first prior to having profit could actually be the problem? Listen in today to learn how to save for your profit before you even have any. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Okay, so let's just get it out on the table pretty early. I am a certified Profit First coach, and I have been since 2015. And I am a firm believer in allocating money for explicit use, like really putting it in the places that I'm going to need it and save it for. So for example, the whole Profit First methodology in a nutshell is telling your money where to go. Very similar to Dave Ramsey and Financial Peace. It's taking your money out. So where Dave uses envelope method to put the money, Profit First, we put the money in actual bank accounts. And those bank accounts are what we have created to manage our business. So our high level accounts might be our income account or an operating account, maybe a payroll account, a cost of goods account. We might even have one, I would hope, for profit and for taxes. And so those are just some of the main accounts. I even have more than that. I have a vault account. I have my 3-month rainy day account. And so I am having my money put into different bank accounts so that I can manage it appropriately for that. My goal is to serve creatives like you to help you create and maintain profit in your company because, as we've said over and over and over, profitability is sustainability. My goal is to help you create a sustainable business, not one that's great for a short amount of time and then it goes away. Again, often I might hear the pushback, well, I can't start profit first because I don't have any profit. What I want to do is share with you today how to create a profit first strategy even before that first penny of profit shows up in your business. The first thing we need to do is define profit. Let's look at that. What is it? Profit is the money that we set aside with intention to make our business sustainable. Now, I get that this could be a very different definition from what you learned in the past, especially if you were in business school. But even if you weren't, it's the same kind of definition that we all kind of hear, maybe along these lines. Profit's what is left over after all the bills have been paid. It literally is saying profit is a leftover. This definition is inherently flawed. Think about this. If you wait until you have done all of your spending to recognize profit, then we're saying that profit is actually an afterthought to doing business. We all are going into business with the idea of making a profit, but we're not setting aside a goal or taking the profit or securing the profit or saving the profit that allows that to actually happen. If that we want to create a business that is profitable, why wouldn't we plan for that from the very beginning and set it aside to protect it as the business is growing? And then even more so if we know that profitability is sustainability. Have you ever heard of Parkinson's Law? Parkinson's Law says that work expands to fill the space available for completion, and money does the same. In simple terms, the more money we make, the more money we spend if we're not careful. If we were to look at it in the concept of time, let's say you have 2 weeks to get something done. In most cases, we're going to get the work done right before it's due. But if you had 2 days, the same is going to hold true. We're going to try to get it done within 2 days. And if there are limits to our resources, we normally adapt and then try to work within those constraints. The same way that we help our clients, what is your budget? And we spend within that budget. We all know if they didn't give us a budget, we would just keep adding and growing because our ideas just keep expanding. Nothing wrong with that. But when we have a constraint, we tend to work within that constraint. So by not limiting our expenses at the very beginning and just having the idea that profit is a leftover, We are not setting a budget for our expenses, and we're setting ourselves up for disappointment because those expenses tend to expand if we're not seriously controlling them, and they can gobble up any profits we have. I mean, it's the shiny object syndrome, and all of us can easily have it if we're not careful. So going forward, we really want to start considering profit as a percentage of real revenue or gross profit that we want to preserve for the company's sustainability. And keep in mind, as we discuss profit in a profit-first model, we're not talking net profit on your income statement. Now, so I'm not talking about pull up your P&L, look down at the bottom, and use net profit. We are looking at company profit as separate from any owner's benefit, including your salary and your owner's draw. We're talking company profit for company sustainability. Now, we're going to go through a process if you use profit first to distribute it, but it's really meant to support the company and not just the owner. That's why it is so important that we define profit and we set up a strategy to save that profit from the very beginning. The next thing we need to do is have a profit mindset. Like we just mentioned, it is important and necessary to focus on profitability from the very, very beginning. And while our company profit may not be as high as we want it to be when we first start, we do need to begin with the mindset that's important, and that is that whatever we make, we're going to save it. I love what Dave Ramsey says. He says, we have to love saving more than spending. And Zig Ziglar puts it like this: if you do the things you need to do when you need to do them, then someday you can do the things you want to do when you want to do them. Our mindset controls everything that we do. I'm not talking Pollyanna thinking, but seriously taking our thoughts captive and asking hard questions. Are these thoughts truthful? Am I setting myself up for success or for failure, depending on the way that I'm thinking? Our actions stem from our belief systems, and they're not always in alignment with what we say we want. So when we make a clear decision to save profit in a company, that is a huge first step, because what we're doing when we say that is, I believe my company is able to make a profit. I believe making a profit is important. And now I'm going to put the action in place to actually deal with the making, saving, and the protection of that profit. And then following through with all of that is what ultimately creates the success. But if we don't think we're able to make the profit, if we don't think that we're worth making the profit, then our actions of how we price and what we do and how we spend are going to really make that show up as true, even if it doesn't have to be. And so I want to ask you, what do you believe about profitability? What do you believe about profits in your own company? And what do you think you should do with profits? How much do you think is enough? Because every one of the answers to those questions are going to guide your decision making, even if you're not consciously aware of it. So before you earn your first dollar, you can decide what you believe about money, what you believe about profits, how they're going to be handled, and what's important to you. Money isn't good and it's not bad. It's amoral. It has no morality. What we choose to do with money is where morality comes into play. And I can tell you this, I cannot give away money that I don't have. I can't invest money that I don't have. I can't leave a legacy that I don't have. And so we have to decide early on to be profitable and to do what it takes in business to make that happen. For some, it might mean we need to grow quickly, and for others, it may mean we have to grow slowly. It might mean we need to hire or that we even need to fire. It just means you have to be willing to take a long, hard look and be intentional in your choices. Even when you're profitable at the level that you desire, you are still working on a profitability mindset, because decisions continually come into play with efficiencies and competitive advantage and all of these things that can reduce our profitability, even if we didn't change a thing. And so the work is never done. It's iterative, but we have to start early at the very, very beginning of our journey in business and then keep reviewing our mindset around money and profit. Because what we come in with doesn't mean that that's the mindset we have to end up with. Okay, so we need to define profit and we need to have a profitability mindset from the beginning. The next thing we need to do is create these healthy profit habits from the beginning. Habits are so much easier to create when you have a small amount of something than when you have a windfall. Think about if you were to start a 401k habit, okay? I remember being in my first job and they wanted me to start a 401k. And I think I've shared on the podcast before, they were also asking me who my beneficiary was. I was 21 and I was like, this is too much all in one day. And I remember talking to my parents and just, at the time asking them how much should I put in my 401k. And mom and dad said, well, the minimum you need to put in 401k is whatever your company will match. They're matching 3%. That's the minimum you should put in. If it's 6%, that's the minimum you should put in. So at least put in what the company matches, and then you can work your way up. So think about it. It is easier for us to go put 3 or 6% in a 401k plan than to start with 15 to 20% in our 401k plan. Like that feels like a lot that we're taking away. But let's say we started with that small 3 to 6%. We can gradually increase that 1% here and there, and we won't even recognize it as much. As our pay were to go up, we can increase it without shock and without changing our lifestyle as much. It's easier to start with the little and create a great habit than to jump into the middle and you've got millions and now you've got to figure out how to do it. So start profit-saving behaviors that are going to support you when you begin the business. Set up a framework of decision-making and activity that allows for your current and your future success. We're not just building the businesses we have today, we're building the businesses we want to have tomorrow. And so how do we do that? I have my clients, when they start working with me, whether they're new in business or if they've even been there for 30 years, I'm going to say the very first thing we're going to do is start allocating 1% of their gross profit or real revenue every allocation period to company profit. Some we can easily start with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%, but those that can't, we start with 1%. Just start with 1%. Small amounts can add up quickly. We get to where we're going by a lot of small decisions. And so that 1% decision that we can do for a while, we'll start to look for ways to stretch it to 2% and then higher and higher. So just getting into the habit of moving money into a profit bank account at 1% starts to work that profit-saving muscle in our business. And the more we do it, the stronger we get. I don't care if it's $10, $100, or $1,000. You start working the muscle and you start seeing it growing. And then when that happens, the more excited we get. And so we start looking for other ways to build up more and more profit while giving even better product and service offerings. Believe it or not, the more we work to make our businesses profitable, the more we actually show up for our clients and try to serve them better, because we are trying to maximize every single thing that we're doing. And even when we have debt to pay off, when we talk about how to handle a debt strategy, we use the profit account as a pass-through. And that shows us that what could be profit if those payments were made to us instead of debt reduction, that highlights it. Imagine you're taking money and you're moving it into the profit account and then you're using it to pay off your debt. That is a stark reminder that if that debt wasn't there, this money could stay sitting in a profit account. And so by putting it into the profit account and then paying debt, what that does is it gets our mind in the method of how money's going to move so that when the debt is gone, we're already used to putting the money into the profit account. So we don't have to now go change up our process. That habit helps us not just for now to pay off debt, but again, for the business that we're building. And if we pay off debt and we're not looking at it as spending the extra money or the profit that we have planned for from the beginning in our company, we can easily assume that we never had that money and then just go back to letting future expenses eat it up. But when you have to go into the profit account to pay off your debt, it becomes a very clear and direct correlation about how we are using, managing, and spending our money. Next, what we need to do is think about measuring what matters. So you've probably heard it said that you get what you inspect, not what you expect. Make a plan to measure what matters, and profit matters. Dave Ramsey also says this: you'll either learn to manage money or the lack of it will always manage you. I'm going to say that again because I think this is super important. You will either learn to manage money or the lack of it will always manage you. And so there are two ways that I love to manage money. The first is by creating a budget for my company, which is just a created plan in advance of how my money will be spent to attain the goals that I've created for my company for that given time frame, a month, a year, whatever. Then I love every month going in to measure to the budget to see if I am on track to meet my goals. John Maxwell, I absolutely love his books. One of the comments that he makes is a budget is simply telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Here's a good indicator that you might not know where your money went. If you look at your income statement or your profit and loss and you see net profit at the bottom, and you recognize that money is not in your bank account or on your balance sheet, and you wonder where it went, that's an indicator that something's not being measured properly. Again, starting with smaller amounts of money and being clear on what's allocated for and how it's going to be spent helps you stay in line and in alignment with your values and your goals. And so as sales increase and more money comes in, it's an easier process to manage it. Learn all of this and figure it out when the business is on the smaller side, and then it can grow with you. The next thing we have to do is decide about debt. We have to make a decision before we begin. What do we think about debt? Is this something you want to have in your company? Do you not want to have it? How much is too much? What kind of things are you going to allow debt to be created for? And what gets an immediate no? And then if you have debt, how do you manage it? In the economy and the environment that we have today, we tend to take on more debt as a society than we need to. We're offered loans and credit cards in the mail. Like, I'm shocked at the amount of junk mail that shows up trying to give me and my kids. And if they had my dog name, they would probably put my dog's name on the credit card application. They just sending them to the house on a consistent basis. And that can easily be alluring if we have a dream and no current funds to make it a reality. Debt can work. We can have debt, but we have to be very strategic with what we take debt on for. Otherwise, it just becomes a set of weight on our shoulders and it keeps us from moving forward. It keeps us from being able to be swift or nimble in our decision making and in our choices. And remember this, it has to be paid back. It's not free money. Mike Michalowicz says, well-dressed poverty is still poverty. And so we have to decide to consistently spend less than we make to stay out of debt. We have to love saving more than spending. And so our company needs to learn to live within its means. And that's why in the Profit First method, what we do is we set a budget for expenses that allows us to have the budget for profit. And we are creating boundaries, expense boundaries around our company so that we live within the means of what the company is bringing in. And that's how we create a healthy, sustainable business. Otherwise, the debt burden is going to control our ability to grow with peace, ease, and it brings so much stress. Implementing a money management strategy like Profit First is more about what you believe about money and more about what you believe about how a business should be run than it is about anything else. And then your actions are just showing what you believe, and then it makes it happen. Any new system or strategy can be difficult. It really can. And some of this may even be a challenge to your belief system. You may have to go, do I really believe that I should be profitable? What do I believe it should be? How do I believe it should show up? How do I protect it? What might that look like? For you to move forward, for any of us to move forward, we've got to decide those things. But if we're just hoping that we're going to do the work we love and it's all going to work out at the end, it doesn't always work out like that. I mean, rarely does it work out that way. I've built a business and worked hours and hours and not made the money that I thought I deserved for the work that I put into it. I can tell you, it is a terrible feeling. And that's why this has been something that I have been promoting on pricing and profitability all the way back since 2007, because I learned very quickly that my life was a lot more satisfied when I was making money and managing money properly than when I wasn't. And that's the same thing that I want for you, because I know the feeling of not being paid fairly, not managing my money properly, not knowing where it was coming in and going out, not having the money for taxes, not having a profit in the company, not being able to put money in my 401k. And when I planned for profit from the start and I built a business from the start that was based on really solid financial principles, I have been so much happier. I've been a lot less stressed. It doesn't mean we don't have still the normal stresses in business, but I at least know how to manage the dollars. The same way that I manage my calendar and I know which meetings I'm going to be going to and when I can and when I can't. I know those same types of things with regard to the income that I have in my company. And that's what I want to be able to help you do. And that's why Profit First is such a great money management system, such a great tool to help you put those belief systems in place. And what's so cool about it is it uses your normal way of doing things, like looking at your bank account. Many of us do a Profit First type method, even in our own home. We're going to make sure we pay the mortgage first. We're going to make sure we pay heating and air and all those things that are important. We're going to make sure we buy groceries, and then we're going to use kind of, if you will, in the air quotes, the profit or the leftover. That's where we might be able to go out for an extra meal. We might be able to go do something fun or go on vacation. It is rare that we're going to spend all our time vacationing and eating out, and we can't pay our mortgage and we can't pay those other things. Just knowing what is most important, what is sustainable, I would almost suggest to you that having certain amounts of profit in the company is what keeps the whole thing going. I don't want to work every year and get down to a $0. I don't want to work every year and have a negative at the end. I don't want to be able to invest in my business, and the only way I can do that is to take money out of my home from my salary. I want to build in the plan so that my business can grow and scale and do what I need it to do when I need to do it. There's nothing worse than having an opportunity and not being able to pay for it, not being able to buy in, not be able to move. And so I want to just encourage you, no matter where you are right now, whether you are starting off and you just are listening in and have an idea for a business, or whether you are a seasoned designer or a creative and you have been in this for over 30 years, you can move forward. If you're making a tons of profit and don't know what to do with it, I can help you. We can get started on that. If some of you are, I don't have any profit, this is exactly where you start, by making the decision to do it. There is a better way. You know, it's never too early and it's never too late to do business better. So I want to encourage you to start now. Don't wait. Don't wait another day. Decide right now to manage your money so the lack of it doesn't manage you. I am happy to assist you in that, because I'll tell you, and this is the truth, what seems simple isn't always easy. And so if you go to scarletthreadconsulting.com, sign up for a discovery call with me, and let's just see how we can help move your business forward to be as profitable as possible. I'm going to end this podcast like I have almost every other one before it with a reminder that profit doesn't happen by accident.